Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Loren Molloy Reads to You. Today, I'm reading Chapter 2 of The Storyteller of Pain by Loren Molloy. That's me. So, please make sure before we start that you've heard Chapter 1. If not, feel free to pause this video. I suggest it, very importantly, I suggest it to you to pause this video, find Chapter 1, The Storyteller of Pain, listen to that, and then come back to this one. That way you don't miss anything and wonder what's going on. In the comments section, you'll see a link so you could buy a copy of the book, and I'll even autograph it and send it to your doorstep, okay? So, also, please, before we start, make sure you subscribe to my channel. It helps me, and it helps you see more videos. So, as long as you've heard Chapter 1 of The Storyteller of Pain, we can start Chapter 2 now. All right, you ready? Chapter 2. Let's see. Chapter 2. The Storyteller of Pain. By me, Loren Molloy. Chapter 2. It took her over an hour to get home. As the key turned in the door's tumbler, she was already taking off her shoes, throwing them across the threshold. She cared not what their destination was. She turned the light on and tossed her keys into the antique tray by the front door. At the moment, all she wanted was a tall, cold glass of Jack Daniels and Dr. Pepper. She deserved it after this day from hell. Maybe the drink will knock whatever the hell is loose in her brain back in place. By the time she got down the steps into her living room and poured herself a drink, she had all her work clothes off and strewn all over the floor. She plopped down onto her plush couch and pulled out her files and laid them out in front of her on the marble coffee table. She took a long swig from her drink and took out her notepad from the secret drawer in the coffee table. It's the only reason she bought the damn thing. Italian marble top with pure cast iron scrolled framework. It was a thing of natural pure beauty and hand craftsmanship. That is what she told everyone as the reason why she's paid a small fortune for it. The truth was, the massive cost came when she asked them to carve into the marble and make a hidden drawer for her. If you didn't know it was there, then you didn't know it was there. Period. Lillian looked at the notepad with Delia's case notes from the initial meeting with the family, hoping some clue she missed. She could trace the issues back to the root like a necklace all tangled in a knot or one of those maze puzzles you did as a child. She could see each ending and trace its tangled path to its source. This ability of hers is why she was the youngest ever to hold such a powerful and prestigious position in the field. Only 28, and she was already known to have solved severe cases of lunacy where others in the field were at a complete loss. She had even been published several times for her marvelous work in the prominent field of psychoanalysis. Lilia opened Mrs. Delacour's case file and spread it out on the table. Taking the last swig from her glass, Lillian looked back at the bottle of Jack Daniels with longing. Fuck it, she thought, and went back for the bottle and soda. Looking back at the table, she thought, I am not sitting my ass down one more time unless I have everything I definitely need. Yes, music. I need music to concentrate by. She went over to her radio and switched it on. Hakia Bell was playing softly in the background. So much better, she thought, and sat back down. Okay now. Lily breathed a sigh of relief and took a swig from her drink. Looking at Delia's intake photo, Lily said, Why, Delia, why? Why are you a map of scars? She searched for answers long into the night, to no avail. She looked at her clock. 3:45 in the morning. She had to sleep. She had to work in less than 5 hours. She put everything away. All the files went back into her bag, and she went to bed. Lillian dreamt of John Barclay. At first, it was a naughty slice of deliciousness. Walking into her office, taking off his sweat-soaked shirt, he began slowly walking toward her. His abs were rippling with each step. Sweat was glistening on his sun-kissed skin. The next moment, he was tearing chunks of flesh from his body, trying to give them to her as tokens of his affection. She began to scream and back away. With each step backward she took, he would take another one towards her, holding in his outstretched hand another new, glistening, blood-soaked chunk of his own flesh. This continued until she was backed against the wall of her office. She was still screaming as he approached her. There was nowhere to turn. She was trapped between the wall behind her and the new monstrosity blocking her way out. He kept ripping chunks from his body until all she could see was bits of pieces of the former man. Half of one cheek was missing. His top lip was gone, showing all gum and top teeth. He kept trying to speak, but what was left of his face wasn't working right. Suddenly, the bloody mass that was left was against her. There was a crater where John's aristocratic nose should have been. His eyes were wide with lust. He leaned forward, bringing that deformed, bleeding face towards her, trying to pucker up for a kiss. No! She screamed and opened her eyes. Lillian was sitting upright in her bed, sheets hopelessly tangled around her sweat-soaked body. Gasping for breath and sanity, she looked around the room, making sure the nightmare didn't follow her into this world. It was just a dream. I'm okay. It was just a dream. I'm okay. It was just a dream. It was just a dream. I'm okay. Lillian repeated it several times before she saw the clock. Shit! I'm late for work. She dived out of her bed and got ready as fast as possible. This never happens to her. Why didn't that damn alarm clock go off? Showering was going to have to wait until she got home tonight. Her hair was going into a bun, which she could do while driving. Clothes. Why is it when you're late, it takes even longer to find clothes you need? Ugh. Thank goodness she had an outfit still in the hanger from the cleaners. Not her favorite, but when you're late, favoritism has no place. Driving to work, Lillian quickly wrapped up her long, silky hair into a bun and started bobbing and pinning it into place. It wasn't until she got into the sanitarium parking lot that she realized she was wearing one black high heel and one navy blue. She had bought 2 pairs of the same shoe a few months ago, and now she was truly regretting it. Her mom always said if you find something you like and it's at a good price, get one in every color. Well, now it's biting her in the ass. The worst part was the outfit was black, so the one navy shoe will be standing out like a very sore thumb. As she locked her car door, she looked down and saw just how obvious it was and groaned. Ugh. Not only was she a half an hour late for work, but she looked absolutely ridiculous. She walked directly into her office, trying not to make eye contact as little as possible, and plopped into her chair with a very unladylike grunt. Sleep badly? Lillian jumped from her chair to see her boss standing in the far corner of her office, a medical book open in one hand. Dr. Rushfield. No, I'm fine. I'm sorry I'm late. Do you have an appointment I forgot about? Lillian knew sleeping badly is one of the first warning signs. She also knew if she said yes, she would have to explain the nightmare she had. That was not something she wanted to discuss with her boss. Ever. No appointment. Came by to see how you were doing with the Delacour case. Heard it's a doozy of a case. I am quite puzzled by it, if I must confess, sir. Tell me about the case. The family claims one day she was fine, the next she was not. They have power and money, so honestly, sir, I don't know if they would tell me or anyone the truth if there were any underhanded dealings. As for Mrs. Delacour, she repeats the same thing over and over again to any question I asked. Where do you live? I'm a map of scars. Do you know what year it is? I'm a map of scars. Lillian said with frustration and looked at her boss. That's all she says? Asked Dr. Rushfeld, who was obviously very intrigued. He was in his late 60s and always reminded Lillian of a Franciscan monk, complete with hairstyle. No, she says more, but it's the same every time. Hold on, let me find the whole thing. It's in my notes. Lillian said as she opened her bag and dug out the case file with the attached notepad. Here it is. She says, don't you see I'm a map of scars? Under this skin, under this flesh, a book of scars tell the story of my life. I am a patchwork quilt, but nothing so pretty or so neat. Each scar is a story. Each story leads to another scar and then another story. The story is never complete. I am the storyteller of pain. She says all of that every time, her boss asked in astonishment. Only if you let her. Every time I'd speak, she'd stop, only to start over again. The nurses inform me she sits in a room rocking and repeating the whole thing over and over again. Makes some of the other patients crazier than usual if she sits with them. So the orderlies have to keep her away from the others. One orderly said it's like she spooks them all. She gives everyone the same reaction. She spooks the shit out of me. Get this chill down your spine. Goosebumps cover your flesh when she speaks. Her family said she visited a friend the night before it started, but when the friend was questioned, she said that she and Delia drank tea and worked on their needlepoint as they always did. Everyone seemed in agreement. One day she was the shining light in their lives, and then this. It was a long silence. Her boss was pondering all of this deeply while stroking his Van Dyke. Finally, he asked rather coolly, Is the family willing to pay for a permanent keep here? Yes. They said so from the very beginning, Lillian replied, slightly confused. Then it doesn't really matter, does it? If you cure her tomorrow, it doesn't mean she'll be allowed back home. A member of such a powerful family in a sanitarium is one thing, easily forgotten about. Someone who returns home from one is an embarrassment to the family forever. Best thing you could do is forget her and work on patients who cannot afford to be here permanently and cure them. Dr. Rushfeld just stared intensely, and quite intensely at her for a long moment, making sure his point came across clearly. Lillian couldn't believe her ears. Her mentor and boss just told her money over health. She felt a warning in there also. Dr. Rushfeld tapped her desk as in case closed, discussion closed. He said, Well, I'm glad all that's cleared up, and we'll just forget you were over half an hour late today, shall we? He peered over his half-moon spectacles and said, Okay, excellent. Have a pleasant day, Dr. Sinclair. Moments later, she was left in her office alone, in stunned silence. Stop digging or I'd have no job. That's what he was implying. She knew that for certain. Why? He had never said that to her before. There had been previous cases where the patients would be fully paid for, and he didn't tell her to stop digging. Actually, this is the third time in her whole career at Danvers Lunatic Asylum that her boss even came into her office. Usually, she had to go to him. Lillian looked at her watch and thought, I'm late for rounds now. This Jay just can't get any worse. First stop, the confined patients. Some patients had to be locked in separate confinements because they were an extreme danger to others. Some, like Mrs. Delacour, had someone who would pay a small fortune to have her stay there, confined to quarters. Today, she did most of those through a small window in the door of each patient's room. How you doing today, Mr. Rawlington? What? No, there's no bugs on you. Just like there weren't any on you yesterday or the day before that. Say again? No, Mr. Rawlington, you know full well if I allow you out of your restraint jacket, you'll dig into your skin for bugs. It's that exact reason that got you into that jacket in the first place. The nurse says your most recent wounds are healing nicely, which I am very glad to hear. I'll check on you tomorrow. Good day. As Lillian made her rounds, she started worrying about seeing Mrs. Delacour again. She decided to save her for last. Then she could just leave and mull it all over at home. Don't dig. The thought stopped her in her tracks. How could anyone tell a shrink to stop digging, expect it not to drive her mad? Maybe it was for the best. She could just speak to her through her window. She would much rather not be in the same room with Delia again, so this did work in her favor. Lillian looked at her wristwatch. Almost 1 p.m. She had group therapy session in the southeast wing. Danvers was a one-of-a-kind state lunatic asylum. It was also overpopulated and very understaffed. There were over 2,000 patients in our hospital, and they didn't have enough staff to control or corral all of them. Not nearly enough. The sanitarium was also huge, 70,000 square feet from one end to the other. Lillian realized if she did not want to be late once again today, she had better hustle. She was all the way in the northwest wing checking in our male patients. Her counseling session was with the female patients all the way on the other side of this massive building. Usually this never bothered her, but she just couldn't catch up today. Usually at this point, she already would be setting up the room. Here she was, still in the men's wing of the hospital, rooted in place. Lillian looked down at her paperwork and saw Mrs. Delacour's name had been added to the list of patients for group therapy today. That thought made her not want to get to the female wing, not with the realization of Mrs. Delacour being part of her group session. She didn't do that. Someone had added Mrs. Delacour's name to her group therapy without even asking or telling her. If it was her boss, why didn't he say something? Why tell her not to dig and then do that? How can she be expected not to dig in group session? She also didn't want to spend 45 minutes in a room with her. Dr. Sinclair, aren't you expected for 1 p.m. group in East Wing? It was Nurse Pettigrew. He was a massive Swede, the kind of guy you knew played offensive tackle in school. Mean son of a bitch, too. He was the one they called when one of the criminally insane and extremely violent male patients went batshit crazy. He just got so much joy out of beating them into submission. Lillian knew if she was in danger from one of the patients, it was Nurse Pettigrew who would save her. However, she just got too much enjoyment from punishing them for her to feel comfortable around him. There was an eager glint in his eye at all times, as if he was just waiting for the next moment he could crack some skulls and beat them unconscious. Yes, Nurse Pettigrew, I am. I'm a bit behind schedule at the moment. Don't want my guys give you a problem I should know about. Nurse Pettigrew said with a sickening smile on his face. He was squeezing his fists, one inside the other, like many muscular men do, trying to contain their excitement for the impending possible violence. No, nothing you need to worry about. No offense, but now you're detaining me. So I'll say good day to you now. I'm truly hoping I get to my session before it's over. She coyly giggled and winked at him. Mortified by her own behavior, she quickly turned and walked off towards the east wing. Why the hell did she wink at him? What the hell is wrong with you, Lillian? That is not the kind of man you want interested in you. Ugh, I would not want him. I think I like him, nor would I want to be interested in him, or have him interested in me. The thought of Nurse Pettigrew touching her or trying to kiss her made her stomach flip. He was just too giddy about hurting people. His love of causing pain and of violence was not something she wanted in her life. A flash of his fists on her body caused a chill to run down her spine. The thought of any sexual activities with such a man was almost too much to even bear thinking about. She got a very distinct feeling from him that he would never be a gentle lover. Ugh! Nurse Pettigrew and the word lover in the same sentence almost made her physically ill. But it did speed her up towards her destination. And that is chapter 2 of The Storyteller of Pain. How'd you enjoy it? Now please, feel free to leave a comment in the comments section and look for the link in my description section. You'll see the link where you can buy a copy of the book for yourself. I autograph it and send it out to you as well. So you'll get a personalized message and inscription and signature from me in the book. So make sure you click that link so you'll have a copy of it for yourself. I hope you enjoyed chapter 2 of The Storyteller of Pain by me, Loren Molloy. As always, please make sure to go back through my videos, like as many as you'd want, share as many as you'd like, comment on all of them, and I'll comment back too. I want to say thank you to every one of you for being a subscriber. It means the world to me. So, as always, I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, and until next time, happy horrors.